Straw Hut Media.
Hey everybody, it's Mark J. Parker, and this is Release Date Rewind, a podcast that celebrates the milestone anniversaries of movies. Do you need a laugh? Because I sure do. So you've come to the right place, listeners. I'm a movie lover and also a movie maker, and I love talking about old movies on their special birthdays with friends and fellow film lovers. This show is part of the Straw Hut Media Network wherever you get your pods, and now it's on the You Run podcast network with other cool indie pods, so yay! And of course you can watch it on YouTube if you like a visual aid. Today we're talking about a movie that gives me so much joy. I know, I say that a lot about all these movies, but this one really, everybody, this one really makes me smile ear to ear. Here's a story of a lovely lady. 30 years ago, back on February 17th, 1995, the Bradys invaded the 90s in the Brady Bunch Movie, and we're celebrating the comedy, the fashion, and those wholesome Brady values. So grab your friends, wear your 70s florals, and if you'd like to watch or rewatch this movie before listening, it's currently streaming on Canopy in the US, which is a great streamer that's connected to libraries. So you can do that, or you can borrow it, or rent it, or I'm sure find it online somewhere. All right, groovy chicks, hip dudes, and far out people, let's fly down the highway in a makeshift Model TA because it's time to rewind. I am so excited to have these boys on the pod. They haven't been on in a while. One of them hasn't been on in, like 2.5 years. The other was on almost exactly a year ago, last March. The gays are taking over Release Date Rewind. My friends are here. Tom Ciuba and Jason Kashiwagi are in the house. We are the Brady Boys. Who's Greg? Who's Peter? Who's Bobby? I don't know. What do you guys think? Who's your spirit animal? Are you? Who's the oldest? Jason, are you Greg?
I don't know if I would relate to Greg. I don't have that deranged confidence.
I could be Greg.
That he has either the TV show or the movie.
Or in the movie. The movie, it's worse than the TV show, I feel like.
Yes. That's so funny.
Yes, definitely.
Now, Tom, why are you saying you could be Greg? Are you're okay with that crazy confidence?
I mean, you know my personality. You could totally see me chasing somebody around singing Clowns Never Left Before Beanstalks Never Grew, you know?
Never laughed. Oh my God. So funny.
Yeah.
What about you?
I might be a Peter.
Jason, you're a Peter?
I'm the middle. I could be definitely the middle.
Okay. You're a Peter. And then so I'm Bobby. I'm going around Bobby doesn't really, out of all the siblings in the movie, Bobby probably has the least to do. Am I right? Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. At least in this first movie.
The tattletale. He's the one that's he's the rule follower.
The rule follower, and he's he's upset for a second there in the movie because he's the guard or whatever. What do they call them? The safety officer kid, you know?
Oh, right. The patrols. Yeah. Safety officer. Yeah.
Right, yeah, with that crazy scene with the teacher spread them.
Oh my God!
All these, oh my God,
that is definitely before Me Too times.
Hey, she can really fit a lot of stuff in there. I mean, teachers don't make much, Tom, so they gotta get those supplies and hide them.
But I also want to point out, Mark, that in our current times, it's okay that if we don't identify with either Bobby, Peter, or Greg, we can identify with the women too.
Hey,
we are gay.
Yes. Okay, I'm loving what I'm hearing. All right, so who do you really identify with, Tom?
Jan. I'm a crazy bitch. You know it.
Do you have those voices in your head? Do you have the? Do you?
No, but there are some Jan things that I could totally see myself doing.
Really,
for sure.
Tom?
Yeah.
Really? What about you, Jason? In the whole cast, who do you relate to the most?
Actually, I think I could be Carol, the mom.
Oh, I could see that.
I could totally see that, Jason. Yes, she's so sweet. Shelley Long. Oh my God, just the best. Yeah, I could see that. I could. You know why, Jason? When you're around someone who's really, going on a ride when they're just long-winded, like Dad is. I could see you going I
can disassociate.
Very active listener. Yeah.
Love it.
Disassociating, more so.
I love that so much. Who do I relate to? I mean, I love them all so
You're
much.
Marcia.
Am I Marcia? You think I'm Marcia?
Yes.
Reality check, bitch.
Oh my God. I do comb my hair. What did she say? 4,998. 4,000. No, I'm kidding. Wow. So you both think I'm a Marcia? I don't know if I should be offended.
Yes.
I mean, okay. I mean,
she's beautiful.
Retention.
Well, thank you. Wait, what did you say, Jason?
Ooh, she did not.
What did you say? For the listeners that couldn't hear your shade. Oh my God.
Retention.
Oh God. Okay. I'm not pretty boy Doug. Man, I've always loved his hair.
Oh my God.
He's such a jerk,
forgot about him.
Oh my God. I
understand. Very Chris Klein.
Oh yeah. Love Chris Klein. Absolutely. Yeah. You're speaking my language.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. He is a dreamboat, but what a jerk, right? We'll get to that in a second. But okay. So I guess we have a Marcia, we have a Jan, and we have a Carol. Okay. All right, girls. I got it. I also feel like I'm sort of an Alice, which, by the way, guys, the actress that plays Alice, I worked with her for a few months when I first started at What Would You Do? She was a producer on What Would You Do? Henriette Mantel. I remember she looked so familiar to me, guys. This was like a crazy time when like the show had just come back. I got the job and like there were a few new people, a few regulars, and she and I were new and like crash course into this crazy hidden camera show. And by that Friday was like my first shoot. And I was like already producing it. I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. But I swear every day I'm like, how do I know this woman's face? Did I work with her before? And I think another coworker like found out. And I just went up to Henriette. I was like, I know how I know you. You're Alice in the Brady Bunch movie. And I shouted it out in the office. And she said later, she's like, you really embarrassed me. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't mean to. But like, I love that movie. So Henriette, love you. She doesn't have a ton to do, because there's a lot of characters to follow. But she's so funny in this movie with what's her boyfriend's name? Sam, the meat guy.
Yeah. The butcher. Yeah.
The butcher. Yeah.
She definitely makes an impact in the film, though.
Totally. Yes, absolutely. They both do. Yeah.
It's 1995. The world we know has changed.
Put on your Sunday best, kids. We're going to Sears.
But the Bradys never will.
Let me set the scene. All right. And I want to hear what you both think of this time, because this is 30 years, everybody. We were all kids. Jason, you mentioned that you saw this opening weekend in the movie theater. Am I right?
Yes.
Oh,
I went opening weekend.
I am jealous. Tom, did you see it? Oh, as a freshman. Oh my God. I am so jealous. Tom, did you see it in the theater or no?
I can't remember, but I definitely remember owning it on VHS and watching it a lot. I can't remember if I saw it in the theaters though.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely don't think I saw this in the theater. I don't know why. I know it was number one, so I'm happy that it was such a success. Because a movie like this, I could easily see it being like a very small niche crowd was into it. But no, I'm glad it actually was successful. And obviously it spawned a sequel only a year later. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I did not see this in the theater. But once it probably hit HBO or whatever, I was hooked. I loved it so much. Now, this movie came out 21 years almost to the day that the Brady Bunch show ended. Now I have to ask you guys, because I never really watched the actual show. I've seen a clip or two. I honestly didn't know until a few months ago that the movie spoofs scenes from the show. I thought everything was just original for the movie. I really didn't know. So what's your history? Jason, I'll start with you. What's your history with the show? Did you ever actually watch the Brady Bunch show?
I watched some of it. Yeah. I wasn't like in the lore of the Brady Bunch, but I knew of certain things, like maybe from VH1, like when they like recapped clips of the show and stuff. But no, I did not have a strong relationship. Yeah, I hear you. How about you, Tom? Did you ever watch the show either before or after the movie?
You know how they say that you create memories sometimes that don't exist? I can't remember, was this a Nick at Night show or not? Because I feel like I did I have memories of it being on my TV at night in my room during Nick at Night. Okay. But I'm not sure if I've just made that up.
No, I mean, what do you think, Jason? Did he make it up? Yeah.
I think he did, but I think it's a different channel. I think it was on, but it was not Nick at Night.
Okay. Maybe VH1.
That was...
Oh yeah,
maybe
Bewitched.
VH1, maybe
Bewitched, Dream of Jeannie.
Yeah.
Dick Van Dyke was definitely Nick at Night.
Yep. I don't know, guys. I kind of think Tom. I could be making this up, but I feel like maybe it was on Nick at Night at a certain time because it was on
Google
something. It was on something because I remember it would pop up, and I just remember thinking, God, this show looks so old and corny. So
Google it.
yeah,
I'm gonna.
So like it was on somewhere. Maybe if not Nick at Night, maybe TBS or I don't know. There was TV Land.
Yes, it did. In the late 90s, Nick at Night picked up the reins of the Brady Bunch.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So after the movie came out. Okay. Well, I'm sure the movie, because it was so popular, I'm sure there was a new interest and, in the old episodes. And I'm sure, networks wanted to capitalize on the success. Right. It makes total sense. But I never really watched the old show. It just seems so dated to me, but here comes the movie. And I knew even as a kid that obviously they're spoofing the show, but there's some new stuff, some old stuff, but it just felt so, I don't know. I guess it's like us little gays. I don't know. Because Henry had to tell me, my biggest fan base for that movie was gay men. I was like, that's so interesting.
That's not surprising.
Right? And I'll have to bring it up to her if I do have her on. But like, I don't know if it's that. Like we just were witty and savvy young boys. And I thought it was so funny.
Definitely.
With Mike.
If your sister would wear her glasses, she just might improve her eyesight.
Carol.
Honey, I think you've stirred that enough.
I'm not stirring. I'm looking for Katie Carryall's underpants.
Greg.
All right, this is a car, Jack.
Of course this is a car. But my name's not Jack, it's Greg.
Bobby and Cindy.
So why don't you hop back on the Swiss Miss package where you belong, huh?
Okay.
Peter.
Lunch looks pretty rank.
What'd you bring? Pork chops and applesauce.
Jan.
Hi, everybody. It's the new Jan Brady.
Marcia.
Dinner's ready. Oh, my nose.
I'm sure no one will ever notice.
There will never be a teen model.
And Alice.
Jason, tell us real quick. So what drew you to this movie in the theater?
Yeah, I have a whole story.
Yeah, you got to tell us.
My history with the Brady Bunch movie was I was 14 years old, a freshman in high school, and I was like rallying my friends. It's like, we should do a weekly movie double feature. So
nice.
The Brady Bunch movie and Billy Madison was our first double feature.
What a combo. Love it.
And we would have lunch or an early dinner at TJ Fridays or Chili's or one of those places. But there was something in my I don't know. There was an aura with the Brady Bunch movie that just really drew me. The whole like 70s and 90s current day thing.
It's very
really,
Jason, I have to say. Those are like two of your worlds I feel like really merging. The colors, the grunge. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love the clash of things. And so, and it was like, because I was in the closet then too, but there was just something really drawing me to seeing the Brady Bunch movie. And then also Adam Sandler and Billy Madison.
Of course. Oh my God. What a combo. Yeah. That's amazing. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So I guess the ads with the colors, the styles, they just really, and the comedy, of course, it just really hooked you, Jason. And so did you say you went opening day or opening weekend? Do you remember?
Opening weekend. We went on the Saturday.
Nice. Who'd you go with?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah. I went with my friends, Teresa, Ellen, and my friend Sandy. I believe it was the four of us.
Good memory.
And then just week after week after week, we just kept on doing it.
Oh, now, so you would sneak into one movie. Am I right? You would pay the ticket for one movie and then sneak into the other, or would you pay for both?
Sometimes we would pay for both, but this is when movies were $2.50, $3.
Right. Yeah. What about you, Tom? When you first saw this at home, probably VHS, whatever, were you watching with your parents?
I can't remember, but I feel like my mom is a Brady, or was back then, in the 70s when the show was actually big. Or was it 60s? No, I guess it was 70s.
It was from 69 to 74. It was 5 seasons, which feels short to me. 5 seasons nowadays is like a good run, but like I'm like, I thought that was on for like 10 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but remember that it was 20
well,
something
they had all
episodes,
the Brady
right?
specials as well.
True. But yeah, you both are right. Yeah, long seasons, and then they had specials, absolutely, and like even long after the show ended, right? They would come back for like a special. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know who I watched it with. Probably my parents, but man, I was hooked. And maybe, who knows? Maybe like as a kid, I don't know how old I was. It must have been, let's see, 95. I turned 8. So maybe later in 95 I saw it. So I was pretty young, and I'm sure a lot of the jokes I definitely did not get. But
for
the
sure.
jokes I did, so much fun. And
like watching it now, I was like, oh, that definitely went over my head.
There's a lot of double entendres. We'll get to some of the lines for sure. But
lots of that.
And some of them I kind of could tell, like, oh, okay, it's something I don't get, but it's funny, you know? We'll be right back.
I think Peter's a babe. Well, in a Gilligan sort of way.
So this came out like 21 years, like I said, since the finale of the Brady Bunch. And here comes this #1 movie. So guys, I'm going to jog your memories. This is what was going on. February 17th, 1995. That is when the Brady Bunch movie came out in theaters. The same day as another movie I love. And maybe you saw this one in theaters, Jason. I think I saw it in theaters. Heavyweights. I love Heavyweights. You remember that one?
No.
But I do remember it.
Oh, you remember?
It's not ringing
Jason
a bell for me at all.
And Tom, wow. Okay, so Heavyweights was a Disney movie with Ben Stiller as this crazy fat camp counselor. And so all these boys, mostly, young Kenan Thompson from SNL was in it. A couple familiar faces. Paul Feig, the director, is in it as an actor. Oh my God, I loved it. And Ben Stiller is just unhinged as this awful camp director who, really fun, dumb movie. Jason, if you remember, I don't think you were in that cabin, but at my wedding years ago, we had posters on all the cabins. And since that is a camp movie, I had the Heavyweight poster. And I remember, I think we put Greg's family in there and they were like offended. I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with weight. No, it's a camp movie. It was like, chill out. It's a great movie. But okay, I understand. Maybe not everyone saw it, right? So this came out the same day as Heavyweights. Other popular movies, like Jason just said, Billy Madison. Love it so much. Such a dumb movie. Boys on the Side, which I really want to read.
Yes, Drew Barrymore.
Right? Drew, who just turned 50. Happy birthday, Drew. Drew, Whoopi, and Mary Louise, right? Mary Louise Parker? Yeah. From Weeds, yep. And Matthew McConaughey when he was, getting started, So that was a big one. The Quick and the Dead with Leo and Sharon Stone, Gene Hackman, a young Russell Crowe before he would, So that was another popular movie at this time. I think directed by Sam Raimi. I never saw that one. Kind of weird that it was Sam Raimi, if I remember correctly. Yeah, right? So those were some movies. On the TV side, Seinfeld, of course, was king. They had just broadcast their 100th episode on NBC earlier in February. So that kind of tells you what was popular at this time on TV at home. And on the music side, everybody, the top song was TLC's Creep. Love TLC so much. What a good song. Followed by Madonna's Take a Bow. And if you notice, at the end of the movie, once it's over and then they're all kind of having fun in their, Brady Bunch squares, did you see Alice takes off her uniform and she's got like a Madonna bustier, sexy thing on under there. So shout out to Madonna. And so that's all I got for, time period. And in comes Brady Bunch. What do you guys think of all that? Does that feel old to you? Does that feel about right? What do you think, Tom?
No, it makes me feel really, really old.
Yeah.
It's kind of depressing, actually. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. How about you, Jason? I mean, you're the same.
It.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the fact that the 90s and the 70s is still so relevant in fashion and pop culture right now is like the Brady Bunch movie is like perfectly relevant today.
You're right, actually.
Just style and finesse. Even the humor is really sophisticated for even contemporary comedies.
It's so legit funny. Like there were some scenes where I was like laughing out loud.
Yes, absolutely. Me too. Absolutely. Yeah. Great script. And even having like RuPaul and that kind of like fun, clever.
Come back when you're pregnant.
It's so I wrote that down too. I love it so much as guidance counselor Mrs. Cummings. Love her. And I love that she came back for the sequel. But I'm so glad you guys agree. I think the humor holds up really well. It's very clever, witty, very, very queer. It's got that like queer edge, I don't know if any of the writers were queer. There were a lot of writers. Yes, Sherwood Schwartz. What do you know, Jason?
Uncredited Stan Zimmerman did rewrites on this, and he wrote a Very Brady sequel as well.
Yeah. Oh, did he? Okay. What else did he do? Do you know?
Golden Girls.
Oh, Golden Girls. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Gilmore Girls. I think he wrote a couple. I think he wrote Gilmore Girls.
my last guest, Jackie, was doing a Gilmore Girls rewatch, and she's loving it. Should I watch Gilmore Girls? I don't know. I feel like I never got into it. Did you never got into it, Tom? No.
Mm-mm.
Did you ever watch it, Jason? Yeah.
I watched it during COVID.
Ah.
Well, I watched the first season from beginning to finish, and then I watched the Netflix 4 seasons.
Oh, yeah.
I love complicated, self-destructive women. Yeah, and I loved the new one. I mean, they destroy Rory.
Oh, geez. All right. Well, maybe one day I will jump into it because it's one of the. Really okay. It was one of the few WB shows I never tried. I just was like, mother daughter, too girly. I don't know. I don't know what it was. Anyway, but okay, Stan Zimmerman. That's good trivia.
Gilmore Girls, Golden Girls, like they all have very witty dialogue, and the Brady Bunch has some of that as well, but more subversive. But
yeah, for sure.
But it has
plus. Didn't Amy Sherman Palladino create Gilmore Girls, if I remember correctly? And I loved Maisel. I still haven't finished it. I just remembered I need to finish the last season. But I mean, so I get it. Really good writing, good humor there for sure. But yeah, this movie has so many writers. Obviously, the characters were created by Sherwood Schwartz. What a name, Sherwood Schwartz. He created the show, the characters in the show. But there's Laurice Elahueni, Rick Kopp, Bonnie Turner, Terry Turner. There's definitely a few writers. I'm going to talk about the script in a second. It's directed by Betty Thomas, who had done some TV. She went on to do movies like John Tucker Must Die. Yes, Jason, what do you think about Betty Thomas?
I love Betty Thomas. I mean, for one, Troop Beverly Hills, she was in.
Yes.
And she was also in... She did some sort of improv TV show that didn't go forward that I believe Henrietta was in as well.
Oh,
and Jennifer
interesting.
Coolidge and Kathy Najimy were
no
also
way. Oh, wow.
So Betty Thomas had the clout. That's how I think they got Gene Smart, all the other Michael McKean.
He's great.
They stacked the rest of the cast surrounding and Shelley Long, of course, with the Troop Beverly Hills connection.
That's I forgot I forgot she was an actress before being a director. Yes, Jason, that's a great connection. Cool. That's really cool. Yeah, she's a very interesting director, but it's interesting and she also directed a movie I do love that is turning 25 soon, 28 Days. Remember that with Sandra Bullock in Rehab? That was a Betty Thomas movie.
Yeah.
Yep. Dr. Dolittle, Private Parts. So she definitely she was busy for a while.
Private Parts is a great film.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I haven't seen that one in a long time. She did that a couple years after this. So she knew her comedies, baby. But it's interesting. She didn't come back for the sequel. It looks like. Who directed the sequel?
She couldn't do the sequel because she was directing Private Parts.
Okay, yeah, she got busy with that. Yeah. There's another woman, Arlene Sanford. So at least I love that these movies were directed by women.
Women to women. Cool. Yep, it went from a woman to woman. Yeah.
Yes, and then I know there was the third TV movie with none of the same cast except for Shelley Long and Gary Cole did return, but none of the kids were the same. Which isn't that wild? They returned.
I've never even heard of this.
Oh, yeah, the Brady Bunch in the White House, a 2002 TV movie. So quite a few years after the 1996 sequel. I mean, they waited, I think, a little too long. And I remember hearing there were budget issues being a TV movie, so they couldn't bring all the kids back. It's all new kids. Some of them you might recognize, a couple TV familiar faces here and there, but wow. And that was directed by a man, so Neil Israel. So we don't count that one. Right? How about this? Normally when I have two guests, I kind of have you split it up. But this time, because it's a pretty simple, straightforward movie, lovingly said, I'm going to have each of you take turns. I want to hear in your own words, just in a little nutshell, it doesn't need to be long. What is the log line? What's the brief synopsis of the Brady Bunch movie? So Jason, I feel like since you saw this movie before Tom and I did, why don't you go for it? And Tom, you just try not to be swayed. You come up with your own description in a minute. But Jason, in your own words,
in my own head, girl.
You're in your own head. Good girl. Okay, good. So Jason, give it to us. What's this movie about for anyone who hasn't watched?
So this movie is about taking the Brady family, and they are in the 70s, but we're taking them into current day, the 90s, and they're like struggles and dealing with high school, dealing with a marriage, dealing with trying to secure $20,000 to save their house. And their Brady Bunch can-do spirit, aka the 70s, kind of challenging the 90s cynicism.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well said.
Ooh.
Love it, Jason. Okay, good. Tom, what you got? Give me your description.
I would say it's about a very quirky family who runs into some neighborhood trouble with a neighbor who does not have their best interest in mind and doesn't appreciate their innocence. And it's about them figuring out that the world can be cruel sometimes and how to save their family and their house.
Love it. Yeah, that's great too. I love that. I know. It is very sweet. I know they're corny and we're supposed to like laugh at them because they're so corny. But I don't know, maybe like because of where I am in my life and in my head, I'm like, this is actually really sweet. Like, I love that they all dance together at home and play
At the mall.
potato sacks and at the mall. Like, I kind of love that they are like that they all love each other. I think it's sweet. It's so not realistic, but
To counter that, they do gaslight Jan.
Oh, yes, they do. Poor Jan, guys.
So there is a balance.
Poor Jan. Like, Jan is... This isn't fair, I have to say. Like, I forgot that Marcia steals her idea to do the singing contest, Search for the Stars. Oh my God, I would be livid. And everyone's like, Jan, shut up. Terrible. The things they do to that girl, right? She is so
No wonder why she puts a wig on and gets the hell out.
That afro wig. Oh my God. Let's talk about the cast before we get into our favorite moments. I mean, like you, I think just said, Jason, this cast is stacked, both the familiar faces and the non. A lot of the kid actors, we didn't really know them, but everyone is so good. Everyone has their time to shine. What do you guys think of the cast? Just rattling off some names. We obviously, Shelley Long, Gary Cole, they're our leads, but good supporting turns from Michael McKean, the villain. Jean Smart as his wife. She doesn't have a ton to do, but man, she eats up the scenery. I mean, you have Alana Ubach. Oh my God, who I didn't really know at the time, but she went on to, of course, to do great things. She is so funny as Marcia's friend. And then, of course, you have all these kids, Christine Taylor, Eric Christian, what's his name? Christopher Daniel Barnes. He is Greg Brady. He's a Mainer. And does everyone know he was the voice of Prince Eric in The Little Mermaid, the Disney animated film?
Oh, good.
So, yeah, he's done some major voiceover work. So, yes, Christopher Daniel Barnes. But what do you think, Tom? I'm going to throw it over to you. What do you think of this great cast? Who stands out to you? Who made you smile? Tell me.
It's funny, when I was rewatching it, I forgot just how famous at the time Christine Taylor was. Like, to me, she was like the marquee name, right? Aside from Shelley Long, of course. And then I just like started thinking about like all the movies that Christine Taylor did, The Craft, right? Like, and then I was wondering, where did she go? But yeah, she really stands out for me. And the girl who played Jan, I can't remember her name, the actress's name, but she was
Jennifer Elise Cox.
Jennifer Elise Cox. Yep.
What has she done?
Well, what did she do? She went on to do some like TV. I know she sort of like had a little bit of a bumpy ride, if I remember correctly.
I feel like she did a lot of comedy. Like maybe
a lot
stand-up. Maybe
she's perfect for comedy. She's just perfect.
She's so good. She's so good. Yeah, I feel like she popped up in something else around this time that really made me laugh, but now I can't remember. But she's popped up in like Two Broke Girls, The Client List. Your girl Jennifer Love Hewitt, Tom. She popped up in that. So she's definitely made a career out of like TV roles, especially. I see Numbers, Eastwick, Pushing Daisies. So she's been around for sure, but she is so funny. And I agree. Those two names right off the bat, just to pause. Christine Taylor and Jennifer Elise Cox, both their dynamic together, them separately, they are probably the most memorable actors for me from this movie. They just are so good and so committed in their roles, right?
For me, it was Shelley Long. And then, because I was a big Hey Dude fan.
Oh, yeah, Hey Dude.
So
that's what Christine was on, right?
That's what I knew Christine from. And I was like, oh, great. Someone from a Nickelodeon show got a studio film. And this is me at 14 thinking that. Like, I was just like so happy.
I love it.
Love it.
That she had a breakthrough moment. It was just a very great mix of new and veteran actors.
Well said.
Daddy, there's a Brady in our yard!
I wonder if Betty Thomas like sent, especially the kids, like video of the show, because I feel like you really had to watch the show, right? At least a couple episodes that they then were mocking to really, because even the way Christine Taylor says "skewel," I never really noticed that until this latest rewatch, much like the real Marcia. So like I'm sure they all watched it together or separately, but they had to watch the original episodes to really kind of study what was done before and of course rip it apart lovingly, right? But even like even little Cindy is so friggin' funny, guys. That lisp and like just her very kind of robotic look, and Peter with his crackling voice, so funny. I remember like watching
the
this
head movements is just like
right?
like the scene where Dad, there's a Brady in our yard, which I was cackling. Yes. But like her head movements when he does that.
Yes.
And he's like, go back on the Swiss Miss box.
Yes. Well, can I just say, I love that his bratty daughter, who we never see again, but I love this girl. Her line, this is like, she is my spirit animal. She says, "See you on the seesaw, Cindy." Like, oh my God, they are brutal, those Dittmeyers. Oh my God. And you know what's also funny? I forgot that I think his name is, oh, excuse me, I'm burping. God, I'm so excited. Excuse me, everyone. I had like hiccup burps. But I think his name is Jack Davenport, if I remember correctly. He's like the punk that goes up against Peter.
Yeah.
Totally forgot. Years ago, I was his stand-in, guys, on a TV show in New York, short-lived show for the CW or I guess it was a CW called like The Beautiful Life. And he was it was like a fashion show, and I worked on it a few days. Totally forgot I had that connection to him, forgot he was in this movie. But speaking of the Dittmeyer family and how awful they are, and then Jean Smart, who's like so horned up and drunk, and it's just so fun to see her. Like, I mean, I know, Tom, you haven't really, we've talked about this offline, you're not a Hacks fan, which is crazy to me.
That's the wrong way of saying it. I just haven't watched it. That doesn't mean I'm not a fan.
Crazy. Jason, have you seen, please tell me you've seen Hacks?
I've seen season 1.
Oh my God.
I have not seen
Girl,
2 or 3.
But I really enjoyed season 1 a lot.
Yes. Okay. At least you're further along than Tom. I love it so much.
I mean, I just finished White Lotus season 2, so.
Did you start?
Okay. I haven't watched 3 yet. You've watched 3, right, Tom?
So good. Like,
yeah, so far it's really
so good so far. Yeah, I had such an adrenaline rush after watching. You know me, I go to bed at like 9 p.m. Sunday night after watching the episode 2 live, I had trouble falling asleep because I had such adrenaline from the episode being so good.
Wow, Tom. Jeez. Okay, that's a good review. But yeah, no, really, guys, Jason, continue Hacks, and Tom, when you have free time, start it. She is amazing, and seeing her the way she is in this movie, it's just so fun because you just see hints of her now, ruling this new show. So I just love her so much. And I didn't really know who she was back then because I know she was on Designing Women, but that wasn't airing at this time. I think it had ended before this.
It had ended already.
Right. Yeah. And I knew my mom liked it, but that was a show I was like, oh yeah, that's like for moms to watch. I didn't know it was so good.
Gay?
So, yeah, I know. And gay, of course. Yes.
Next Christmas, you tell your daddy I'd be more than happy to wrap his package.
Okay.
Here, hit the road, bad seed.
So how old were the two of you when you first watched the Brady Bunch movie? So I was 14.
9.
You were 9, Tom. I must have been probably 8. Like later in this year in '95, I was 8. Maybe not until the year after 9. But yeah, I was young. But I loved it.
Did you watch it with your parents?
I think I did. Friends? Yeah. I think I watched it with parents.
Both, like on rewatches with friends for sure. I know
did your parents pick up on the queer humor? Like, did they know who RuPaul was?
My mom loved RuPaul because he was a morning DJ on 103.5 KTU. And she used to love him when he was on the morning show there. So yeah, she knew who RuPaul was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure my parents knew who RuPaul was, and I'm sure they picked up on the humor. But my parents, even though they are conservative. They're very like cool at the same time, and I've always like laughed up when it was appropriate to laugh at like queer humor. Like they showed me, and Tom, you've been on the show. We talked about the birdcage. My parents showed me the birdcage, and they loved. So like my parents are really kind of funny that way. Where like they totally embrace and like that kind of queer humor. It's just, you know, they are disappointing in other aspects.
as they all are at some point. I do feel that the Brady Bunch movie, for people in the 90s, it did kind of educate people on subversive humor. You know?
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, that's a fair, yeah.
For young queer kids, or just kids in general. Because this is very different than the slapstick of Billy Madison. You know?
That's a great point, Jason.
So,
yeah.
It's a very different type of humor.
Yeah.
And I think that, and it isn't too sophisticated that it isolates, you know, even as like 8 or 9, you understood the humor, some of the humor out of it.
Yes.
As a 14-year-old, I understood the double entendre. I didn't even know what a double entendre was.
Yeah.
Until probably I saw the Brady Bunch movie.
Good point.
So
well
like,
said.
So like when Jean's hand is down Greg's pants and she's like, "You're growing right before my eyes." You picked up on that he was going hard. Oh, interesting.
And
totally
and
went
the sandwich joke.
The sandwich joke. Oh my God, it's so funny. We're talking about this. I love this so much. This is why I love doing the show. I later in life, I mean, I think I last saw this 5 years ago for the 20th anniversary, but later in life did I understand the sandwich joke. For a long time as a kid, I really thought like, oh, okay, she wants them to, I just thought like, oh, she likes them. She likes younger men. She just wants them in the kitchen to help her. I'm like, no, like, so it is funny, the sandwich joke, because now I get it.
Why don't you come inside and help me make a sandwich?
I totally get it. So Jason, you understood at 14, what she was saying. Yeah.
Like I knew when Mike and Carol were trying to have sex.
Oh yeah. I think I even knew that too.
I got those jokes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, I feel like at a young age, I was sort of able to understand.
I knew that they weren't just
like,
gonna kiss.
Right. The way she says, "Time to put your bookmark in, Mr. Brady." It's like, oh, what are they gonna do? She doesn't seem tired, you know? But I do love how like randy they are. Like there's a couple
He's the
scenes.
bookmark and she's the book.
Yeah, like put your bookmark in.
There you go. Yeah. Yep.
Time to put your bookmark in, Mr. Brady.
Let's talk about like, why do we love this movie? Feel free to shout out any moments that really like stand out for you. We can go back and forth. You know, what is the Brady Bunch movie to you in a few, you know, favorite scenes? So who wants to start? Tom, you want to start off?
To this day, like before you, like, I don't think about the Brady Bunch often, right? It had been a very long time since I thought about it when you asked if I wanted to come on the show and do it. But I always have a soft spot for the line when it will forever make me laugh when Jan goes out with the wig on and the hooker's standing there and she's like, "Oh, what happened, honey? An animal died in your head? Lose the hat, you'll be okay." Like that kind of quirky, nuanced writing always fits perfectly with my sense of humor because I always pick up on like slight things like that. Like even in Enora, when I was in the theater, I was cackling at some lines that Sean Baker wrote in there that I'm positive no one else in the theater was even like paying attention to or picking up on. So I always like pick up on those little nuanced things, and that to me is just it's just so fucking fun. Can I curse? It's so fucking funny.
Of course you can. I love that. And Tom, I feel like I can picture you laughing at things that other people aren't even really hearing or you know, but you are cackling. Yes.
Like
I love
cackling.
That.
Yeah, and that's one of them. Like forever will be something that will. If someone says Brady Bunch, like I said, I don't think about it often. But if they say the Brady Bunch, my mind goes right to that scene.
That's so funny. That's a line that hits you. Yeah, I wrote that down too. I think it's also funny because it's supposed to be like seedy LA, and she's like walking amongst the prostitutes, and she's wearing the afro wig, right? So the whole thing is so goofy. Yeah, I love that, and that's when she meets the real Alice from.
Yep.
Schulze, the truck driver, right? Yeah. What about you, Jason? Is there a certain moment or line you want to throw out that is just Brady Bunch movie for you?
So this movie is like ingrained in me. This is like one of my core movies.
Yes.
Like when Elizabeth Olsen brought up in WandaVision that she went to the Brady Bunch movie as inspiration.
That's funny. I didn't know that.
I was just like, I felt
that.
like validated that there's other people that like remember this movie too, like in their heart.
I love that. That's great.
I love a slow-mo walk, beauty walk. So when Marcia is walking through the school to I don't remember the name of the song. Like She's Got It or something like that.
She's got it. Yeah. I can hear
it
in my head. Yep. And all the guys are looking. Yep.
But I love the fact that like Marcia can integrate into the 90s. More so with the guys because, you know, they want to sleep with her. But that she's not ridiculed in that sense. But I also love the fact they're using like a 70s song in a 90s situation.
Yep.
Again, and with the slow-mo beauty walk.
Yeah.
And you get introduced to the guys that want her and Alana Yubak who also wants her.
I think you were the prettiest girl in the entire school. I know.
Oh my God, absolutely. It's a great scene. And you're right, Jason. I never really thought about it until right now. She might be the only Brady child who isn't like made fun of, right? Everyone else is like, Greg is not cool. Peter's not cool. Bobby, we don't really know enough about him. Cindy's not really cool. Jan's definitely not cool. So yeah, you're right. Marcia actually does fit in with the 90s group. No one seems to like roll her eyes at her. Even the girls, they're like, no one's jealous or weirded out by her. You're right. Yeah.
Oh,
wow. Well, thanks
Peter
for saying I'm Marcia.
Exactly. You could fit into any era.
Yeah, thank you.
So I actually have a question for Jason because you keep bringing up about the seamless integration of 70s and 90s. Do you think this movie would have worked if they decided to keep it in the 90s in all ways, shapes, and forms? Abandon the 70s fashion, abandon the 70s architecture of their house, abandon the 70s music. Do you think the movie would have worked?
No. Not at all.
I agree with you.
Not at all. You needed to warp the nostalgia while still honoring it.
Do you think the movie would have worked set in the 70s instead of the 90s?
That's a possibility.
You think?
Possibility, yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Like if you bring in the real 70s into the Brady Bunch 70s, that could have maybe been an interesting. It also, but that might have been like, but that could have been more depressing because it's like Vietnam War and stuff.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, because on the show, were they kind of, and I should know this, but were they kind of odd on the show? Like, did neighbors and people at school?
No, not like in
they
the
were
movie.
very normal, right? Okay, yeah. So that's totally, because that's what since I never really watched the show that much, that's what I think of the Bradys. They're this weird family, but actually that's just from the movie, you know? That's how strong this movie is, that it totally changes some of our perspective, you know, on the IP of it all, you know?
So in the 90s, there was that 70s revival happening. Like bell bottoms were very popular. I believe, like in 1995. The Brady Bunch was like ahead of its time in that sense for a film. But like Madonna did the Girly Show tour like in 93, I believe, 92. And she had a whole 1970s disco act that
and
a very 90s.
And in a small way, I mean, cinema was embracing it. I mean, granted, spaced out in the 90s, but you had the 54 movie, you had Boogie Nights, you had Brady Bunch, you had Son of Sam, you had Dick, right, with Kirsten Dunst and Michelle Williams in like 1999. I feel like right before the millennium.
Love Dick. I love
so there was, you're right, there was kind of a low key embracing of the 70s in pop culture for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, bell bottoms, and now with Kendrick Lamar wearing them again at the Super Bowl, I guess. Yeah, we're bringing them back, right? Also, what I kind of love, and going along with the juxtaposition of the 90s and 70s, the movie even sort of almost kind of pokes fun at the 90s as well. Do you know what I mean? Where like it's so grungy, the music, the bands, everyone's like so like 90s. Even in the beginning, like the traffic, the phones, they're really hitting you over the head that like, yes, this is the real world, but it's kind of like a fantasy real world where it's just so hard and gray and like, you know, punky, you know what I mean? And I think that that was smart.
I remember my mom always saying to me that she felt like the 90s was a bookend to the 70s, right? And like the 80s was in the middle of like this sandwich where like 70s were great and fun and sexual liberation in a lot of way, continuation of the 60s, right? And yes, of course, you had Vietnam and other grave things that were going on, but then the 80s became so like money focused, and you had like the Reagan era and everything, right? And people kind of missed the vibe of the 70s, and that's where you had the 90s to bookend it. Because she always used to say that dance music of the 90s was an extension of disco. And she's right. She's not wrong. So it's always interesting to me that those two decades are so correlated in a lot of ways.
That is really interesting.
If you walk like Jan,
glasses make me look positively goofy.
talk like Peter,
Peter? Yes, Miss Lonely. What do you want? It's puberty, sir.
dance like Marcia,
Marcia did it again. Marcia, Marcia, Marcia.
and sing like Greg,
Clowns never laughed before.
then join the family.
How can I resist?
The Brady Bunch Movie.
Jump in when you feel the groove.
Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, February 17th at theaters everywhere.
Since you mentioned Alana Ubach, Jason, I'm just going to shout out her as one of my faves of this movie. Like I was saying, I love her so much. Talk about a comedian. I mean, she's obviously queer. And even I think on my first watch, I'm pretty sure, like I have never been... That never went over my head. I knew it's pretty obvious, right? To everyone except Marcia, that it's like, oh, she's not just Marcia's best friend. She's a tomboy. She's very focused on Marcia. She's upset when Marcia's talking about Doug or boys in general, right? I love, and still every now and then to this day, I say the line, oh, I thought that was my leg, when they're in bed together, you know? So funny. I love when she punches Doug at the dance. How's about a little punch, you know? And then Marcia thinks it's Charlie, the nerdy guy that punched Doug and saved the day, when it was Noreen, you know, and then the way Noreen cries and then takes the tissue from the pretty blonde. And it's just comedy gold, guys, when she notices her as she does her short little nose blow and she's like enamored. Like, she is so funny. I can't remember if she made it to the sequel. Do you guys know if she's in a very
No, I
sequel?
don't think so. Mm-mm.
Dang, I want to see a spinoff with Noreen. I love her so much. She is so funny. So just got to give her some love.
Oh, here comes Doug. Go away. Sure. No, stay. Okay. No, leave. Fine. No, stay and pretend I just said something really funny. What?
Hey, Marcia. What's up?
Oh, the guest jeans scene is like comedy gold.
Yes.
The modeling audition, you know. Oh, what are you modeling for? Guests. Wrangler, Oshkosh B'gosh, which is like, whoa! I hadn't heard that name in a long time.
Yes. So dated. I know. I love that too so much. And that girl's beautiful. And she just is like so confused. And then that leads to the photo shoot, which is also so much fun with the Charlie's Angels theme, right? And that guy with the awful like piercing thing on
the piercing that like goes
and his
on.
accent. Yeah. What does he say? How do you feel about breast
and talk about making fun of the 90s.
Oh, totally, right? With
the,
like the leather, the vet, like again, that grunge, it was so like extreme, right? But then what does she slaps him and she says, because he says like, you need to cut that mousy hair.
Yeah.
Cut my hair. Oh God, so good. Like that always made me
never
laugh.
mind breast implants or lose 30 pounds. What does he say? You sweet sausage or something like that? It's like, oh my God.
Exactly. Yeah. I love that photo shoot scene. And also just that Jan, because it was Marcia's idea to be a teen model, and then cut to Jan's there and she's like, well, why did you have to tag along or come along or whatever, right? So that's also just great tension. Yeah. Great tension between the two of them. How about you, Jason?
Jan gets escorted out.
Yeah, she gets escorted out, right?
He's like, you, and she's like, wow.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Yeah.
Definitely the school dance with Davy Jones showing up. and the teachers going crazy for him, and they're
for Davey. Yeah,
I love those teachers. They made me laugh out loud. Absolutely, the way they're like, shimmying like with the group. Yes, they are so funny. Oh my gosh, Jason, I'm glad you brought that up because truly, like rewatching it, that scene in particular in this whole joyful movie, it gives me so much joy. I actually love that version of the song. Like, it's actually a really great song, I think. Right? And you better believe at any school dance, once I saw this movie, I was always doing Marcia's thumb dance. So maybe I really am Marcia. Marcia, Marcia, Marcia. Yes. I love that dance. I love that she sets this trend and it's only her and Charlie's kind of figuring out. And then one by one, the whole crowd is kind of doing a 90s like sway version to it. Love it. Love it, Jason. Yeah. And the teachers and Davey.
It's one of those things where it's the 70s and the 90s collide with each other. And Marcia does not. Everyone adapts to Marcia.
Yes.
You notice?
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, she's getting her way. She's a trendsetter, whether she even knows it, right? Yeah, I love it. And it's also nice that they're colliding in that scene, but the 70s are cool, you know, because a lot of the time the 70s are lame, but that's a time when all these kids who are the most critical are actually like taking it on and making it a whole thing. I love it. I just love seeing like there's like some grungy guys that are just kind of like doing this with their head, but everyone's into it. I love that scene so much.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in that scene because that's also when Jan has her coming out scene and Bobby is dealing with not Bobby, Peter is trying to get the girl.
Yes. The red hair. I forget her character's name, but yes, they have a thing. They're very cute. Yeah.
She's loving his 70s motif.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you say that, Jason, because I kind of forgot the order of scenes because, like I said, it had been at least 5 years since I last saw this. I kind of forgot the story order, and the dance almost feels like because there's a few things going on, and also maybe we're just so used to it with like other teen movies. The dance for a little bit there almost kind of feels like the climax of the movie, but it's obviously not because the real problem is the house and the $20,000, right? But yeah, that's a good point. That like there are some things converging with some of our siblings.
The dance scene is like a teen movie. It feels like an authentic teen movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I kept getting compared. Like my mind kept going to like She's All That for some reason. The dance scene from there. Like I just felt similarities. Not quite, but you know, in structure and form, if you will.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'll say a quick. I'll talk about a moment that is truly iconic. Marcia gets the football to her face. Oh my nose! Right? I mean, iconic. Now, honestly, I did not know until recently that was from the show. That was totally from the show. Yep. Did not know until a few months ago. So, oh my God, so funny. Her nose is so hideous. And then in comes Dreamboat Doug with his 90s hair, and she's cousin It. She's a blonde cousin It, right? From Addams Family with her hair in her face, which is so funny. Why don't you show him? And then she reveals herself and she's like, I guess you don't want to go with me now. And what does he say? He says, well, it's not your nose I'm after. Right. But they all take that like as a compliment. And what does her dad say? He says,
you have protection, son, or something like that. And he's of all different colors and textures, which again, totally over my head as a kid.
Oh yeah, I knew something was there, but I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I know I'm missing something. You know? Oh yeah, he's such a slime ball. But they're like, you know, so enamored.
Looks like rain. You better take your shawl. Doug, do you have any protection?
Oh yes, ma'am. Assorted colors and textures. That's a fine boy Marcia's got there.
That takes them before the dance. What I was going to say was, I do love how awkward their little like pre-dance date is at like Lover's Lane, and he's got his arm around her shoulder, and
your hands are around my shoulder.
She's like, well, that's third base, and I never go that far. And I'm like, I think this movie confused me about what the bases were, because I heard that and I was like, oh, so that's third base. Okay, so then you go from that to a home run? Wow, okay. You know, so then later when I'm like told the real bases, I'm like, oh, Marcia doesn't know. I get it, right? Yeah.
And then he says something about French kissing, and she's like, Doug, I thought you were from Nebraska.
Yeah.
Doug, I think I just felt your tongue in my mouth.
That's called a French kiss, Marcia.
I thought you were from Nebraska.
But then she French kisses Charlie later, and she thinks it's like she's like such a pro, right? She's like, it's called a French kiss, Charlie, right? And then that's another thing. I kind of forgot we have a motif here. The line "something suddenly came up" is said a lot in the movie for different reasons, right? And I just thought of that because Charlie says that because he got excited. But then like Greg Brady is telling Peter earlier, like, just tell him like something suddenly came up or something like that, right? Like a few of them say that line for different reasons throughout the story, which I had forgot about. I just thought that was like a cool little theme throughout. Let's go back
humor,
to Tom.
For a
Boner humor. Yes, absolutely. Boner humor for sure. It always works. Let's go back to you, Tom, and then we can start to kind of wrap it up, I guess. Any other scenes we haven't talked about that you want to shout out?
The carjacking scene is hilarious. Like, this guy's coming to carjack. My name's not Jack, it's Greg.
They have no idea what he's talking about. I know. It's
and
so
then
funny.
the guy falls for their stupidity, too. He's like answering their questions, and he's like, wait, no, I'm supposed to be carjacking you.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, my God.
I love him. And then I forgot he comes back later when they need a ride, right?
And he's like, nope, take them.
And
he
the
tells
cops
the police,
come over.
like, yeah.
Yeah, I know. He's great. He's so memorable. Carjacking. And like, they're just like, well, this is a car, but my name's not Jack. Yeah. So as a kid, that made me laugh. Like, that was like, oh my God, rolling over laughing. Yeah. What about you, Jason? What's another scene you love? You got anything else?
Oh, when they go to Sears.
We gotta talk about Sears.
I guess, like, for me, I love all the musical numbers in this.
Absolutely.
And so
Jason.
when they go to Sears and it's like their special treat and they do the song and dance.
Yeah. Down the escalator.
Oh, yeah. It's so iconic, right? I think I'll go for a walk out. I would sing these songs like at school with friends, you know? Yes. And again, another fun moment where I always caught the like extras behind them who are very 90s, who are like glaring at them. They're so confused because they're doing, you know, the choreography, their hands are on their hips and all that. So yeah, the Sears stuff is really fun. Yeah. I'm glad you brought
Tori
that up.
Spelling
yes.
Tori Spelling is premiering her perfume or something like that.
Yes, yeah. Tori Spelling's autographing her new perfume or something like that. Yeah, and that makes Michael McKean, who we haven't talked enough about him. I mean, he is so good as this slime ball villain, right? This real estate guy. But yeah, that makes him like drop the toilet because he realizes, and I thought that was so clever that like in the TV, the like electronics section, that guy, it's so clever, and they're like being dummies. They don't even know that he's looking, but like it's stuff we all did. We would go up to those cameras and like get close to them, you know, and be like, oh, I'm on TV. That was really clever that it's 9 TVs. They're stacked on top of each other. Oh my God, so clever. Love it so much.
Yeah. I love like ways in the movies to show homage to like the TV show, especially when you have such a famous opening credits scene. So the Sears scene was really joyful in that sense. And we'll definitely have to talk about the end credits.
Oh, yeah. Well, before we get there, I'll give one more favorite thing. And one thing I just thought of, I forgot, guys, that the infamous Sure Jan, which is a saying now in pop culture. I mean, it probably was back then, but it definitely is now. A meme worthy, right? That's not even in this one. That is in the sequel. The whole time I'm like, wait, when did Sure Jan happen? I missed it. I'm like, that's in a Very Brady sequel when Jan is talking about her boyfriend, George Glass, right? Yes. I totally forgot. I thought that was in this one, right?
Me too.
But, right? I just thought like, because, you know, it's so rare for a sequel to also have such memorable lines, you know, so especially for a comedy, you know, so just want to shout that out. But no, I'll just quickly, before we get to the end credits, I will say a scene I love is the ending when, oh my God, not Cloris Leachman. Why can't I think of Henderson? Florence Henderson.
Florence Henderson.
Sorry, brain fart. Totally different woman. But Florence Henderson is grandma, you know?
Yes.
And what a fun ending where she's still like Jan is just not catching a break. Even grandma flocks to Marcia, right? And those voices are coming back. I love Jan's scary voice. I always have. Make my head spin, you know, like, you know, and she's like, no, stop it. And then I have always thought it's so funny when grandma says, Jan, cut the crap. And that pushes the voices away. And she's like, thanks, Grandma. And you can just tell, like, Grandma hates Jan. It's so funny. And then that's when the voices somehow have transferred to Cindy. And I just love that ending where we have weirdo Cindy, why is it always about Jan? And she really is so like robotic with these head tilts. I just think that ending is so funny, right? It's a great, crazy way.
It's fantastic.
Right?
I mean, there's so much going on in those end credits. So again, you get a more 90s version of the Brady Bunch theme song. And then you have still more storyline happening in every single box. Like in Marcia's
in the boxes.
Hooking up with Alana Eubuck's character.
That's right.
Jan and Marcia getting to a fight in Jan's. And Cindy playing with her doll, I believe. And
the doll.
Yeah. And then Alice, like you said, takes off.
She's taking it off. Yep.
Yes. And it's just like, oh.
I'm trying to think. What happens on the other side? I know RuPaul joins Greg, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then Peter's with his teacher, right?
Yep. Yes.
What's going on with Bobby? Oh, I feel like, is he wearing like a cop?
Yeah,
like hat, and is he with someone? I can't remember now.
No, he becomes just a real patroller.
Yeah, totally.
And then Jean Smart,
yes,
is trying to hook up with the dad, and Florence's character, the grandmother, tells Carol, "You better rally up your husband."
Yes,
and then so Carol goes down and. They get drunk and they finally get laid.
Yes. Well, also, what makes
Mike
it so
and Carol
fun?
Finally hook up.
Absolutely. And Jean was getting him ready, right? And it's funny because Jean Smart is wearing like a wig in her reddish hair color, like a wig that looks like Carol in that moment, which I thought was really cute. But what also makes that whole sequence really fun is they're all very aware of where they are in the layout,
Yes.
I noticed, right? When like Marcia comes into Jan's like looking up, like, aren't you up there? So that was also really clever to make it meta, make it fresh. We're kind of like loving this kind of classic format. And like you said, Jason, like paying homage to it, but we're kind of skewering it and lovingly twisting it. Right. Yeah. It's a great fun ending for sure.
And it shows how awesome the theme song is. Like that's a theme song that you do not get tired of. Like you could replay that song over and over again. And
that's a good point. Yeah. It's so, you're right. It's a party song. Jason, you need to play it at one of your birthdays. Maybe you did. Maybe you have already. Because I could see you jamming out to that song, right? With some drinks in your hands. Yeah.
Well, there could be a Brady Bunch rave.
Oh. Hey, play that Davy Jones song. I'll be up there raving with you. Oh my god!
I mean, there's a Shrek rave. There's an Always Sunny in Philadelphia rave now.
Really?
But
interesting.
A Brady Bunch rave could be very psychedelic.
Iconic. Yeah.
Yes.
Iconic.
Yes, because then you can plug in some 70s disco in there. Like you can actually play some songs of the era, but then twist it up. Yeah. And how fun to get dressed up. Yes.
Yeah.
We could wear long wigs and, yeah. Okay. I'm into that. You need to make that happen, Jason. I know you invited me to that.
So. That's actually a really good idea.
Right?
Because then you
Jason,
can mash up the TV show and the movie.
Yes.
And the specials.
Yes. Tom, you'll love this. Jason invited me to a rave at the end of March, but I told him we'll be at 90s Con.
So. At 90s Con.
How do you feel that like the young 22, 23-year-olds are very much into the 90s?
I love it.
Nirvana, Alanis Morissette, the fashion.
I'm telling you, Jason, I feel like lately when I brought up Alanis Morissette to younger people, they had no idea what I was talking about. And there are people that I've talked to that had no idea what Daria was. I'm like, oh, and they were like, this was a while ago,
Daria
but they were like,
could be a little bit more.
I guess, but oh my God, I love Daria.
It kills me that people don't know who Sarah Michelle Gellar is. Like literally,
that's
crazy. Doing a really good job of educating a lot of kids.
Yes, Olivia's very 90s. I love her whole vibe. Yes, but wow, people don't know who Sarah Michelle is. That's crazy.
No,
I mean, I guess
Jeff's nephew, who's 19, has no idea who that is.
I feel like people 90s films can be very interesting with the passing of Michelle Trachtenberg.
Yeah.
And then, of course, with Shannon having died too, so like the whole 90210 cast is going. Like even Gabrielle's going this time, and she rarely ever goes. So
yeah, that's a big loss. You're right. I know. And actually, when you think about it, Sarah Michelle Gellar was close with Shannon and Michelle from
Oh, she was still friends with Michelle.
I think so. They still every now and then like posted pictures. I mean, it's been a little while because we know Michelle started getting kind of weird, but they were close. So that's crazy to lose them both. Pretty prominent stars from your past. So yeah, that is a bummer. But no, real quick, guys, going back to Brady Bunch. I just want to end it with some trivia that maybe you guys saw this. I thought it was very interesting. So the original draft of this movie was going to be this. It was supposed to be a noir, like a spoof of a noir. So it was the Desperate Hours, a movie I've never seen, but it's a noir film, I think from the 50s. The Desperate Hours meets the Brady Bunch, and it follows the Brady family falling victim to a home invasion by escaped prisoners who then proceed to hold the family hostage while they hide from the authorities. So maybe the whole movie was just set in the Brady house. Maybe there was more
house.
stuff there.
That wouldn't have worked.
Right. And then they hired more writers to then make it a spoof, but like, I don't know. I'm so glad we got the movie we ended up getting because that
for sure.
Definitely.
Right.
But I feel like some of that was put into Very Brady sequel.
Oh,
with
yeah.
With the con man boyfriend, right? Husband.
Yes, and they're tied up on the stairs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's true, guys. I didn't think about that. I'm going to later tonight. I'm totally rewatching the sequel because I do remember. Is he's supposed to be like Carol's long lost husband? Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Who
absolutely.
She thought had died on a excursion.
That's right. Oh my God. It's all coming back. Yes. So yeah, I had to shout that out because I thought that was really kind of crazy that was the first idea that they were going with. And then as they brought in more writers to make it funny, they just totally revamped it into the movie we have now. So I'm glad we have what it is now.
And girl, you better work.
I think it holds up really well. And I think it's very representative of the 90s, mid 90s, right? A decade that we grew up in. And yeah, that's it.
This film holds up. It is a classic to some people.
Yeah, to us.
To us. And hopefully it'll continue to be remembered.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It is just too funny to be forgotten. And it was only, maybe 6 months or so before Clueless. So I do feel like I could picture Marcia and Cher hanging out. Maybe they were friends. Sure. Maybe they were enemies. Maybe they were like rivals. I don't know. But I feel like it's pretty fun that Clueless came soon after this. When you think of the time period, think of the look, the style, the campiness of it all, right? So yeah. Cool. Well, thank you, boys. I'm going to stop.
This movie got made.
Oh, thank God. I agree. I agree.
This movie got made.
And that's the way we all became the Brady Bunch. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening or watching. And thank you to my Brady family, Tom Ciuba and Jason Kashiwagi, for being such great guests. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, girl, for making the winter warmer. That was pretty good. Spread some sunshine today and spread the word about this podcast if you enjoyed it. So leave a rating, a thumbs up on YouTube, whatever you want to spread the word. Thanks Straw Hut Media, Kyle Motzinger, Greg Clemens, Portland Media Center, and the You Run Podcast Network. Follow me on Instagram at Release Date Rewind if you haven't already to see more footage from this convo and from this movie and to find out what's next on the show. Bye.
All right. Goodbye.